Good day, Fearless Schools friends, pals, and confidants. On behalf of the entire Creative Leadership Solutions crew, I want to thank you for carving out a wee bit of your time to check out today's Fearless Schools Shorts podcast. As always, it's your humble host, Dr. Drew Tomlin, educator with 30 plus years experience with teaching and learning and school leadership, and current middle school principal myself. Normally always joining me on deck is Creative Leadership Solutions Director of Professional Learning, Dr. Ann McCarty. She couldn't be here, but gosh, I know she wishes she was here because I know that you guys are going to be happy that you're here as an audience because, listen, today's guest is someone who's been an educational leader and superhero at the national level, and someone who has made amazing things happen for teachers, schools, students, families, and communities across the country and continues to do that work today. Listen to this, just a little short biography. I can't do it justice with this little bit, but here it is. So this gentleman began his career as a fourth grade teacher, became the youngest principal in the state of Connecticut in 2003, became the Connecticut Commissioner of Education in 2019, and then shortly thereafter in 2021, he was confirmed as, a little small post of some importance, the 12th U.S. Secretary of Education. And today he continues to serve and support educators and communities through Cardona Solutions. That's right, everyone. The one, the only Dr. Miguel Cardona. Sir, how are you doing?
Great. Thank you for having me, Drew and Ann. Really honored to be amongst educators, people that are, regardless of the title, our job is to help students, and just honored to be here with you and keeping the work going.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And yes, and as you alluded to, joining us now, Dr. Ann McCarty, Director of Professional Learning for CLS. Dr. Ann, how are you doing? Are you excited as well?
Drew, you just keep bringing these people in, and it just feels like a dream every time. And then I wake up and it's another amazing educator that we are graced with their presence.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. And I've got some family that live out in Connecticut too, Dr. Cardona. So, maybe Aunt Patty and Uncle Larry are listening, representing. So, hey, listen, to get us warmed up, obviously you're a man who's been there, done that. What is your go-to food in times of educational challenge and triumph? In other words, what sustenance sustains you as an educational leader?
Oof, geez. You're talking literally or figuratively?
You
need fuel for the soul here. But listen, I can always go for a good home-cooked meal, any home-cooked meal, because sometimes when you're out there, fighting fires and really trying to push, there's nothing like home-cooked comfort food. So any of that would do.
Yeah, listen, you can't make evolutionary and revolutionary educational change on a fast food situation. You can't. So no, I appreciate that. Home cooked meal, ingredients out of the pantry. I get it. Right. So hey, let's go ahead, Dr.
We know Popeye ate spinach, right?
I'm more of the arroz con gandules type, but I'll take some spinach too.
Oh man. All right. So you talked about home, right? So we're going to go there. As an educational superhero, all superheroes have an origin story. So your origin story, what kind of student were you?
Yeah.
And what, and maybe even perhaps who helped you learn? Give a shout out to those people or those strategies that helped you as a student.
Sure. It's funny because I was recently speaking in Georgia last week, and I was talking about my experience. My first day of kindergarten as a 5-year-old, I felt like I didn't belong there. I didn't want to be there. I actually had to get picked up on my first day of school ever, early, from the nurse's office by my mom. And I told her, I said, I'm never going back.
There you go.
And I never stopped going after that. So I went to a John Berry Elementary School. I went to a technical high school.
Okay.
And it was in the same community where my parents came from Puerto Rico to live and make a better life.
Gotcha.
And it was in that same community that I served as a teacher, school principal, district leader. So for me, that was my story. It was the local public education school system that gave me the opportunity to spread some wings, grow some wings. And then I went to a state college here in Connecticut. Again, I applied to one college.
Yep.
I had a nudging of a teacher in high school to say, you should consider teaching.
And
it was that state school. And then I went to UConn for my graduate work. Public schools and state colleges that gave me the opportunity to serve 65 million students, making decisions in the Oval Office. So never underestimate the power of a local public school in our country.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little more about that teacher who nudged you.
Yeah, I want to know about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I went to high school, the same high school that all my older cousins went to, because that's what we did. We had a lot of cousins. The eldest cousin went to a technical high school to study plumbing, I believe it was.
Hmm.
I went in to study automotive technology. My brother did electrical engineering, and I was fixing cars for 4 years. And then it was junior year, I was using my artwork to kind of talk about the importance of social justice without even knowing what social justice was. I did a mural
Yeah.
that had people from different countries on it, and I said, "We are all one race, the human race."
Mm.
And she saw that, and she said, "Why don't you make that a bulletin board in the cafeteria?" And I was like, "Really? You like this?" And then soon after that, she said, her name is Linda Ransom. She said to me, "Miguel, you should consider becoming a teacher." And that day I grew like 3 inches, and I thought to myself, she saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself.
Right.
So I did. I ended up wanting to become an art teacher. I went to college to become an art teacher, but then I was drawn toward elementary education and never looked
Wow.
back.
Wow. And obviously like the art part of it, were you always an artist and like it just kind of came out at that one time, or was art something that was more private and you cultivated on your own?
No, I love art. I mean, to this day, we have a family band.
Oh yeah?
I paint, draw. Yeah. And, it was something that I loved doing. But going to a technical high school, the program wasn't as evolved or robust as some of the other comprehensive schools. So it took that teacher to see this kid with dirty, oily hands from working on cars. He
Yeah.
has something that he needs to share. And, but art is still, and even after that, still was a big part of my life. And as Secretary of
Mhm.
Education, I made it a point to make sure that I communicated that
Yep.
arts should not be looked as an ancillary. It's the hook in many ways. It's the engagement part of education. Children walk in with talents that they don't even know they have. It's up to us as educators to make sure that through the arts, we help them see their God given potential.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we talk about in middle school, we talk about really the dropout problem sometimes starts in middle school. The attendance issues start in middle school. So the art part and the career technical education part, those are things that we need to start. Don't wait until high school. You got to start it a little bit earlier.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, already inspirational words from you. So once again, as an educational superhero, you fly around all over the place, helping out and that kind of stuff. What are your superpowers?
Yeah.
What makes it? What do you think you do particularly well to fight the good fight?
I often talk about bilingualism as a superpower, biculturalism as a superpower, and I coined those because I felt for far too long children who were learning English were made to feel like they have a deficit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to take it very personal, growing up in a Puerto Rican household and community and being able to code switch and culture switch.
Yeah.
Look, I had my grandmother who only spoke Spanish. The food, the culture, the music, I loved it. I embraced it. I was taught to embrace it. Spanish mass. I would go to church in the Spanish mass. So that was that culture. And then in school, I navigated a different culture, and I had to learn how to work with students who were totally different than me, that had different cultural upbringings, and respect and say different isn't bad. If anything, you're rich when you can code switch and culture switch.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. I had that as a base
Mm-hmm.
of how I looked at engaging with folks. When the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
we had very strong opinions of what to do to reopen our schools. It was that experience of culture switching and code switching that gave me the ability to listen intently, to think about different perspectives, and not just think that my way is the right way. And it was through that intentional collaboration and understanding different perspectives and respecting them, even if I disagreed with them, that brought people to me to want to be problem solvers. And we reopened schools in Connecticut safer and quicker than many other states. We had philanthropy
Mm-hmm.
writing, $26 million checks to buy laptops.
Right.
We had the Yale School of Emotional Intelligence supporting our teachers, developing mental health supports for themselves and for their students because of this collaboration that was fostered through the understanding that different isn't bad. And it was because of that I got on President Biden's radar to serve as Secretary of Education. So when I say biculturalism and bilingualism is a superpower, I mean it. Code switching is really something that gave me the opportunity to think more broadly
Yeah.
and learn from people that maybe typically I would have been cut off to.
Yeah, code switch. I mean, that collaborative ability to work with other people from different mindsets, different ways of seeing things. Sometimes we get so myopic
Mm-hmm.
or linear in our drive that we don't see some of the tangential things that we could think about and talk, talk to others about.
Absolutely. And Drew, I say this today.
Yeah.
We are at another point of inflection where we could choose to contribute to group polarization and only associate with people that we agree with. Think about what's happening in our country. I don't have to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
As an education leader, it's easy for me to tear apart policy by policy, point by point, what's happening today.
Yeah.
As not a billionaire donor, I'm not a billionaire donor. I'm an educator for 27 years.
Right.
It's easy for me to tear it apart. But what I need to do is say, how do we come together to say what's good for kids? And regardless of left or right, blue or red, how do we support children? And how do we bring people together through education? So we did it 5 years ago with the pandemic. And it's that code switching and culture switching and that ability to bring people together that we need to have as educators and education leaders. Because at the end of the day, this isn't a red or blue issue. It's a kid issue.
Right.
And I believe our best days are still ahead of us, but we have a lot of work to do to come together.
Absolutely. I was thinking about, before we get to the challenges and perhaps the kryptonite that challenges you, is there something from your time as U.S. Secretary of Education, an educational innovation or a practice, something that you did that you're just like, that brought you joy, that you carry on as like, this is something I'm distinctly proud of?
Yeah. I mean, reopening schools within 9 months,
Yeah.
More than half of the schools were closed when I became secretary.
Right.
Providing public service loan forgiveness to teachers, nurses, over 3 million people benefited from that. And, $190 billion in debt relief for people who really were given a promise, a bipartisan promise, and we followed through. But I think one of the things to get really down into the nitty gritty of what it means for teaching, we went from 0 states in 2021 when I was sworn in, 0 states that had paid teacher apprenticeships, meaning student teachers getting paid to be student teachers. There's no other profession where you have to work for 4 months for free.
That's true.
So by the end, when we walked away, there was like 46 states that had paid teacher apprenticeships. I'm proud of that because I know that if we're going to improve outcomes for our students, we need to respect the profession, lift the profession, pay the profession what it deserves. And for us, paid teacher internships is one way that we kind of move the needle on that. Proud of that.
Right. Wow. But how do we attract people and retain people and train people so they become the educators that we need them to be for our students? Oh, geez. So listen, on the other side of that coin, what is something that challenges you that you're like, I want to make sure this gets right?
Well, look, dismantling the Department of Education is very small compared to dismantling public education, which is what's happening. When you dismantle the Department of Education, you take away the safeguards, the oversight to ensure that all children have access to a free and appropriate public education. You remove the checks and balances that are needed to make sure that all students get access to education. So now you remove the federal Department of Education and you start attacking by privatizing a public good at the K-12 level. If I'm a private school entrepreneur and I want to open up my own private school and take vouchers and I'm going to try to make a profit here, it's less likely that I'm going to take in students that are reading 2 grade levels below. It's less likely that I'm going to devote the resources needed for children with Down syndrome. It's less likely that I'm going to invest in programs that serve students furthest from opportunity. I'd rather just take the dollars from the public education sector and then leave them with the kids that are hardest to teach. That's what's happening across the country. So, I want to be very honest about it.
Yeah.
The dismantling of the Department of Education is just the tip of the iceberg of what's happening across our country with privatization. And let me tell you, I'm a big believer in school choice. I'm a product of school choice. I went to a technical high school. I am not in support of public education dollars being siphoned from a system where teachers are getting paid 24% less than people with similar degrees in other professions, where you siphon the money from there to pay for selective schools that pick and choose who they educate and kick out who they cannot educate. We got to do better than that.
Yeah.
Everyone, our country's potential will not be reached if we privatize a public good.
So with that, with both the innovations that you set forth in your time, as well as the challenges in this time, what can a school leader or a teacher in their daily practice, what's your advice to them? What can we do to bring about some change in this climate?
Yeah, I don't walk around in despair. I walk around in hope. I'm optimistic. Yeah. 5 years ago today, we were doing the impossible. We were reopening schools without vaccines, without tests, without knowledge. You know what? We came together because we put kids at the center. Mm-hmm. So my message to educators today and leaders that are listening is we've sharpened our swords for the fight ahead with the pandemic. Let's remember who we serve. Let's remember why we signed up. It's going to be hard. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be damage that's going to take decades to fix, just in the last 5 months. Yeah. But this is the best time to lead. This is the best time to be in service because our students need us now more than ever. Right. So my message to them is, number one, take care of yourself. You can't take care of your students if you're not taking care of yourself. It's like, that oxygen mask. You got to put on yours first. Yep. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're prioritizing your faith, your family, your health, then work. And then when you get to that fourth one, you'll do it really well if you take care of the other things. So take care of yourself. Stay close to your why. And then focus on the things that you can build consensus around, like making sure every student has access to public education, making sure families are connected, making sure that you remove the political divide from entering the classroom. It's like a pandemic. You want to protect yourself. You want to create social distance from political nonsense. And just stay focused on why you signed up for teaching. We never signed up for a pandemic. We didn't sign up for a political divide either. So let's do better. Let's rise above that and be the examples that we want our students to learn from.
Oh, that's wonderful. Take care of yourself. Stay close to your why. Harness your power around things that you can build consensus around. Oh my goodness gracious. And I might even add another, be the Miss Ransom in some kid's life. Yeah, right?
That's right.
Because you never know what one little nudge, one little comment can spark inside a kid who might otherwise be extinguished might end up being distinguished like you. So goodness gracious.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, listen, Dr. Cardona, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule. Thanks for joining us on the Fearless Schools Shorts podcast. Any other last mic drop moment words of advice you'd like to say? I want to make sure we use up all this time as much as we can.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny. Before I get to that, 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to ask Miss Ransom to join me in D.C. Oh. And I walked, we went through the Department of Education, and it was beautiful because she got to see, she believed in me 35 years ago.
Right.
And she was able to see something in me that I didn't see. So as I hosted her in Washington, D.C., as I walked her through the West Wing and the Oval Office for her to see, it was my way of saying, look at the potential that you had as an educator to change the lives of your students. And it wasn't just me. I'm no more special than the next student whose life she changed. But I just want teachers who are listening, who get caught up in frustration or despair, or, it's hard because you can't change the system, or it's bigger. You feel like you're boiling the ocean. It's like that starfish poem. Mm-hmm. You're making a difference to that one starfish you pick up and throw in the water.
That's true.
So I used to, at the Department of Education with my assistant secretaries, have that starfish poem that said, and I'm not going to repeat it, but I'm going to ask you to link it when you send this out.
Sure.
That says, it might feel like you can't make a difference, but when you pick up that one starfish and you throw it back in the ocean and save its life, you're making a difference for that one. And that one starfish could change the country, could change the world. So, in those moments of despair, to the educators, my message is, and to the leaders, never forget your why. You're making a difference every single day when you show up with positive energy and you do your best for that kid. That teacher didn't know on that day, by encouraging me to think about being a teacher, she didn't know that I was going to be serving the President of the United States in the future. Right. She didn't know that I was going to be visiting all 50 states, encouraging our educators and our families and our students. She didn't know that. Right. So the educators that are paying attention, the leaders that are paying attention, you are sowing seeds, and someday you're going to be seeing the harvest of those seeds. So keep up the fight. Never be discouraged. That's part of the plan sometimes of people that want to take down education, is to discourage us. We serve students and we serve a greater purpose, so continue the fight. Good to be with you.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, you brought the real, as the kids say, and the really impactful insights to our little podcast. We are so grateful. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us and share your leadership wisdom. And hey, Fearless Schools podcast audience, you know what you did, right? You tuned in, you refused to tune out, and as a result, you learned a thing or two from one of the truly great educators in the nation and gosh, on the planet. So now it's time to celebrate by checking out a couple of spots. Exactly. Cardano Solutions, and of course, Creative Leadership Solutions at www.creativeleadership.net, and then put it all together and share it with your friends, your school pals, random folks on the street, teachers everywhere, wherever you go. Listen, this is Dr. Drew Tom, keeping it short, keeping it sweet on the bright road ahead. Thank you once again, Dr. Cardona.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Right.
My pleasure, Ann and Drew, and to the educators out there, keep up the good fight. Follow me at Teach Cardona on the social media and Miguel Cardona, EDD, on LinkedIn. I love hearing stories of how you're changing the world. So keep up the great fight. Take care.
Thank you, sir.